Look, something abnormal just happened in the Columbus real estate market, and if you don't understand what's going on right now, you could either miss the perfect buying opportunity that's sitting right in front of your face, or worse, you could significantly overpay in a market that's shifting in ways that most people are not seeing. For the first time since 2016, Central Ohio's housing inventory has crossed over 5,700 active listings, right? That's a 25% increase year over year, and it's giving buyers something they've never had in years: breathing room. For years, buying a home in Columbus was like trying to grab the last concert ticket before it sells. If you blink, the home was gone. Homes would hit the market and go under contract within hours, sometimes with multiple offers and way above asking price. But something has just shifted recently. Closed sales in August were up only 3% from last year, and that's about 2,819 homes. And prices, they were still climbing. The median sales price rose 4.8% year over year to $338,000, continuing a decade-long upward trend. Now, I know what you're saying, Gagan, that sounds like a stupidly good thing for sellers. That might sound like a hot market, but here's the thing that's different about it. Houses that used to sell in 8 to 10 days are now taking 29 to 45 days on average. And while sellers are still getting close to asking, they're negotiating more. On average, homes are closing at a 99.2% of list price, and in September, they closed down 97.6%, down from over 100% in the 2021 and 2022 frenzy. I'm talking about listing a home for $100,000 and getting even up to $150,000 for it. That's a complete flip from the seller's market we've seen over the past few years. Now, of course, you're probably wondering what's behind the inventory explosion. And here's the thing, it's not just one thing. It's kind of this perfect storm of 3 big factors that are all happening at once. Firstly, the lock-in effect, it's finally breaking. Sellers who are sitting at the 3 to 3.5% mortgage are finally deciding that they need to move regardlessly of rates. I mean, life events don't just wait for the perfect interest rates. Divorce happens, job happens, relocations happen, family sizes change all the time. And after holding off for almost 2 years, these sellers are finally accepting the fact the rates aren't going back down to 3% anytime soon. But what's interesting about Columbus specifically is we're seeing a huge surge of baby boomer sellers downsizing from the suburban home they've owned for the past 20 to 30 years. We're talking about homes that are paid off or nearly paid off in places like Dublin, Worthington, and Upper Arlington. These sellers, they don't care about interest rates because they're not buying another house with a mortgage. They're either moving to a condo, a retirement community, or just relocating near their family. The second one is where I think people are having a field day. And in fact, a lot of my friends that go to OSU or that are in their 20s, yeah, this is what they're realizing as well. And it's this fact right here. Renters are being converted into buyers. I mean, think about it. When renters are paying $1,800 to $2,200 a month for an apartment, they're realizing that through seller concessions and rate buydowns, they can actually own a home that's similar in monthly payments. And with inventory up and competition down, these first-time buyers are finally jumping in. Now, this next one is universal. Investor pullback. Yeah, it's real. Columbus has been a major investor market over the past 5 years. Out-of-state investors and local flippers are buying 25 to 30% of the inventory in some neighborhoods. But with rates high and rent growth slowing down, these investors have been completely pulling back. That means regular buyers aren't competing against cash offers anymore. And just wait until I show you the neighborhood by neighborhood breakdown. Just a minute, because some areas are getting hit way harder than others with this shift. But let's talk about the second major factor, and that's the record high seller concessions. Now, if you thought inventory explosion was crazy, wait until you hear about this. Almost 42% of homes in Columbus this year included seller concessions. And we're talking about 42% of sales, which is basically at an all-time high and way above the 2021 and 2022 threshold, which no one was offering concessions. Now, what does this actually mean for you? In real life, it means 4 out of 10 homes are sweetening the deal to get buyers to buy. And these aren't just little token incentives either. I mean, the average concession package right here in Columbus now runs a $95,000 price tag per deal. That's up $4,000 to $5,000 from last year. In fact, one of our buyers, yeah, she got $25,000 off the asking price, a 1-year warranty on the home and inspection. Imagine having an inspection a few years ago. And that's exactly what we do for our clients. Listen, guys, if you're ready to jump in on the market, but you're just nervous or just have questions about what specifically to look into, let our team help. I mean, we love making these videos, but we'd love the opportunity to get you from here to the closing table. And we're pretty good at our jobs. If you have any questions or just want some things addressed, listen, it's never a bother when you reach out. All of our contact information is down below and pinned at the top of the chat. I hope that you and I get to chat more about this because I really want to make sure you can make that dream of living in Columbus a reality. Look, one of the most important things in this market is mindset and expectations. And it's not yours necessarily, it's the sellers. And their sellers are still presuming that we're in this 2021, 2022 bubble. A lot of seller expectations are a lot higher than what the actual market will produce in a sales environment. So you want to make sure that you're keeping an eye out for that, especially if you're selling. It's not to get overly ambitious on the price of your home because it's not 2021 anymore. And good agents, yeah, they know how to have that conversation. But look, all over Columbus, sellers are offering everything from mortgage rate buydowns to paid HOA fees, repair allowances, and closing costs to help out. We're seeing price cuts happening frequently to properties that have been sitting on the market longer than 30 days. But look, there is something else that's affecting this holistically, and it's not just resale homes. There are other people that are sweating over the fact that homes are not selling. Who do you think it is? Because there is another major factor that's reshaping the Columbus landscape as we know it. The new construction boom that's been building momentum for years is now absolutely flooding certain submarkets with inventory. Now, builders have been absolutely crushing it in Columbus and the surrounding counties. I mean, with over 8,000 housing units approved in Franklin County in 2024, that doesn't even count Delaware County, Union County, Fairfield County, and Lincoln County, where builders have been going absolutely crazy. Now, of course, with all these homes hitting the market and fewer buyers qualifying at today's rates, builders are getting aggressive with their incentives. And I mean aggressive. Look, there's a bunch of new communities that are being built over in Grove City and Plain City, and over the weekend, the builders were offering a 2-1 buydown, which means you can get rates low as 4.75% on the first year. I've also seen permanent buydowns and price cuts ranging from $15,000 to $40,000 on homes, especially on quick move-in inventory where they've already been completed. And if you think this is crazy, in San Antonio, a buddy of mine was showing me a rate. Builders are offering 0.99%. Yeah. Rates lower than 1%. That's crazy. And look, the builders aren't pumping the brakes that hard either. They're still planning around 9,000 to 10,000 new homes in 2025 across the Columbus metro. And here's the thing, if you're looking south as well, places like the Rickenbacker corridor or the Andrew area as well, they're building about 500 homes as of data and information from today. That's insane. Look, these numbers are down from the peak, but it's still a lot of inventory hitting the market, which means the inventory pressure isn't easing up anytime soon. But here's where things get really interesting. The new construction wave isn't affecting all segments of the market in the same way. In fact, Columbus's market has fractured into completely different pieces that behave in completely different rows. And you and I, we need to understand this. So the Columbus market hasn't really cooled down. It's just split off completely different and just acting by itself. So let's break it down by price for you. If we're looking at the high end, the luxury market, $700,000 plus, inventory has ballooned to 6.5 months of supply. Now that's still technically a seller's market on paper, but with these homes sitting much longer and sellers still feeling a lot more pressure to drop the price and offer concessions, it's not their market. Look, areas north of 270 like Upper Arlington, New Albany, and parts of Dublin in this price range are also seeing more resistance from buyers who are being a lot more selective than ever. If we're looking at the $250,000 to $500,000 range, we're seeing the strongest performance. The price bracket makes up almost 45% of the sales, with the $300,000 to $400,000 segment being the busiest. But even here, inventory has jumped up about 4.2 months of supply, which is the highest that we've ever seen it since 2019. And stick with me because I'm about to share some specific buyer strategies at the end of this that are helping our clients save tens of thousands of dollars in any price bracket. And when we talk about starter homes, especially condos and townhouses, we're seeing some of the biggest shifts. According to the 2024 year-end data, condo prices were up just 4.5% compared to the 5.9% overall for single-family homes. And now in 2025, we're seeing median condo prices down about 7.8% from last year, and inventory has shot up around 5.8 months in supply. This is clearly a buyer's market. But do you know what's behind the split? It's really about what people can afford. The middle range is where most demand sits because that's where most families qualify in today's interest rates. But even in that sweet spot, buyers still have a lot more choices than they did last year. And speaking about choices, the split market isn't just happening by price point either. It's really playing out across different neighborhoods as well. Some areas are getting hit much harder than others, with a few surprise spots that are actually thriving in these environments. Now, not all neighborhoods in Columbus are feeling the shift the same way. You know what I'm saying? So I want to make sure that we can walk through what we're seeing in some of the key areas based on the most recent data. If we're looking at places like German Village, one of Columbus's most desirable neighborhoods, median prices were up 13.8% year over year according to 2024 data. But here's what's interesting. There are 28% more homes for sale in German Village now compared to last year. So even in this premium historic market, inventory is starting to stack up and homes are still taking much longer to sell. Now, places like Clintonville is still one of the hottest spots. Median prices are up 8.5% from last year, making it one of the few areas that are seeing real growth. The mix of walkable business district, good bones on older homes, and that quirky community vibe, it keeps the demand strong even as other neighborhoods cool. In places like the Short North, where young professionals love the galleries and the nightlife, we're seeing prices hold relatively steady, but the condo market has gotten hit especially hard with all the new downtown apartments construction. Condos that were selling at $250 per square foot are now more like $220 to $230 per square foot as new supplies flood the market. In Worthington, homes are now taking about 42 days on average to sell compared to 28 last year. That's not a crash, but it's a significant shift that gives buyers a lot more time to decide. In Delaware County, inventory is approaching 5 months of supply, especially in Powell and Lewis Center. These suburban markets north of 270 are seeing some of the biggest inventory increases as builders continue delivering new homes while buyer activity has definitely slowed down. These extended selling timelines give buyers more breathing room to make decisions compared to when everything was going crazy a few years ago. And with the inventory growing in nearly every single suburb, buyers now have the option that we simply did not have within last year. So that brings us to another massive factor that's driving all these market differentiations. It's in fact one of the biggest economic landscapes in Columbus, and it's also affecting buyers' purchasing power. You see, the Columbus economy is still outperforming most Midwestern cities, but there are signs of moderations that are directly impacting housing. The forecast shows about a 1.8% job growth, which is solid, but below the Columbus long-term trend of the 2.5% growth that we saw during the peak hours. Columbus has been adding jobs steadily, mostly in areas like healthcare, professional services, hospitality, and government jobs. But some sectors are showing weakness. Manufacturing has been relatively flat, and retail employment hasn't rebounded to pre-pandemic levels. The unemployment rate has ticked up slightly, but remains very low historically. This economic picture helps explain some of the housing market cooling that we're seeing. Job growth is still positive, but slowing. And with mortgage rates still elevated, this combination is squeezing housing affordability for some buyers who are on the margins of qualifying. But this also brings us to one of the biggest factors that's creating opportunities right now. Mortgage rates have actually dipped to their lowest levels of 2025, right? According to recent data, rates are now averaging around the 6.25 to 6.75 for a 30-year fixed, and that's reigniting some buyer activity. Current rates are still way higher than the 2.75 to 3.5% rates that many buyers got during the 2020 and 2021 year, but they're improving from the 7 to 7.5% peak that we saw in 2024. And with seller concessions and builder buydowns, effective rates for buyers can be significantly lower. Look, these improving rates combined with increasing inventory and seller concessions are creating what I'd call a quiet opportunity window. For buyers, it's not the feeding frenzy of 2021, but it's also not the frozen market of mid-2024, when rates peaked and inventories was tight. The Columbus Realtor president also noted that inventory is the highest that we've seen in years and prices are still edging up. But buyers also have more choices and more time. Sellers who priced in today's markets, they're still getting strong results, but those who priced based on 2021 expectations are sitting and eventually chasing the market down with price reductions. So with all of this context, how do we actually apply it in today's market with average Joes like you and I? There are some strategies that are working for our clients right now, and I want to make sure that they're working for you as well. And I want to make sure that you and I can use it together to make sure that you get the best house at the cheapest price. Firstly, we're going to target listings that have been sitting for 45 days or longer. These sellers are the most negotiable because they've already experienced the market telling them their expectations were off. They're motivated, they're realistic, and they're more likely to accept stronger offers with buyer favorable terms. There's another reason why this 45-day number is really important. A lot of realtors, for their unique value proposition, say we have a 30-day listing, we've got a 7-day listing, and that's that. If the listing doesn't sell in 30 days or 7 days, whoop-de-doo, they're not making any money and that house isn't selling. But if there's for 45 days specifically, that realtor was able to negotiate at least a 6-month or a 3-month long contract with that person, meaning they're good at their jobs, the seller really needs to sell. Secondarily, push for substantial concessions. Look, I know people that are averaging between $12,000 to $15,000, and you should be aiming for similar numbers. And I mean, don't just ask for closing costs. Ask for permanent rate buydowns, home warranties, repair credits, or even appliances or furnitures if it makes sense. The worst thing they can say is no, but in this market, sellers are saying yes a lot more than they've said in the past few years. Thirdly, and this one is a big one, shop builder incentives aggressively. Some builders are offering first-year rates under 5% through 2-1 buydowns. Others are cutting prices by $15,000 to $40,000 on quick move-in homes, and these incentives are real money that goes directly into your pockets through lower payments or reduced purchase prices. Fourth, focus on inventory-heavy zones. Areas like Delaware County, Grove City, and the luxury segments over $650,000 have the most inventory, which also means the most negotiating power for buyers. Don't just look where you originally planned, look where inventory levels are giving you leverage. Fifth, watch for agents with multiple listings. These are often investors or builder representatives who have more flexibility on terms because they're not dealing with emotionally individual sellers. They understand the market, they want to move inventory, and they'll negotiate rationally rather than being emotional. Look, now that you've made it almost to the end, let me give you a strategy that most people don't even think about. Look for properties that have had multiple price reductions. If a seller has already dropped 15, then 20, they're demonstrating that they're willing to adjust to reality. They're signaling to you to make an aggressive offer because they're more likely to negotiate further than just sitting and waiting on the market. Look, when we're taking a listing for our team, one of the most important things that we have in terms of a conversation is that pricing conversation. And I always use this line and this framework. It makes a lot of sense. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, what do you think is the most important thing that my buyers, you and I, are looking for when we're writing a strong offer? And they're always going to guess, oh, price point here, amenities. I tell them no. It stays on market. Because the longer a property has been sitting on the market, the less likely a buyer wants to compete, the more power and leverage that we have. So what does this actually mean for you? Look, Columbus hasn't crashed, it's just reset. Inventory is up, sales are steady, and prices are finally growing modestly. The buyers finally have leverage again for the first time in years. If you've been waiting for a window to buy in Central Ohio, this is genuinely it. The combination of increased inventory, motivated sellers, builder incentives, and improved rates creates this opportunity that we haven't seen before the pandemic. And if you're selling, the message is clear. Price it right from the start or risk chasing the market down with multiple reductions that make buyers suspicious. The homes that are priced correctly in today's market, they're still selling, but overpriced listings are sitting while properties priced correctly are selling around them. Look, my team and I, we help buyers and sellers navigate this shift every single day. We're working with clients in Clintonville to Delaware County to areas throughout the Columbus Metro. We'd love to help you make a smart plan for any specific situation. Whether you're buying now, waiting for rates to potentially improve in the future, or preparing to sell this winter, let's build a strategy that fits you. Because remember, you make the most amount of money in a real estate purchase when you buy, not when you sell. All of our contact information is down in the description below and pinned to the top of the chat. But let's say you're not quite ready to make that move to Columbus just yet. We actually made an entire A to Z guide of what living here actually looks like. I'm gonna put that playlist right here. Watch it, and I'll see you soon. Peace.